Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari, four teams that have shared victories during the first half of the 2024 Formula One racing season. Starting from the previous championship, the FIA communicates through a specific document all of the updates introduced by the teams on the F1 cars each race weekend. It is called the presentation car and is distributed to the media. It is a preliminary view of the car updates at a high level of abstraction, to the point of being understood even by non-experts, as it reveals the areas of the cars that have required the most attention during the latest development plan. Our study is nothing more than an analysis that provides a quantitative measure of the adjustments developed by the various teams. Now, let's take a moment to recap some of the issues faced by the engineers of the teams in the first part of the 2024 Formula One Championship. Many teams encountered unexpected technical glitches that challenged their performance on the track. From reliability problems to aerodynamic inefficiencies, the engineers had their hands full trying to keep the cars competitive. Some teams struggled with tire degradation, which significantly impacted their race strategies and overall results. Others faced difficulties with power unit reliability, causing them to lose valuable points in crucial moments. Despite these challenges, the engineers worked tirelessly to find solutions and improve the car's performance for the rest of the season. It's been a tough journey, but their relentless efforts are a testament to the resilience and innovation that define Formula One. McLaren's development plan is the one that arouses the most curiosity. Apart from the inaugural Formula One race at the Bahrain International Circuit, the Woking team did not make any modifications to the MCL-38 single-seater before the Miami Grand Prix. And indeed, the effectiveness of the first major aerodynamic update package in Miami was confirmed by Lando Norris's first Formula One career victory. After this Formula One World Championship event, the papaya-colored cars presented other innovations between the Austrian Grand Prix and the British Grand Prix, where there were some new features at the rear of the MCL-38. Compared to competitors, what is striking is how the engineers led by team principal Andrea Stella produced only one update in the fundamental area of ground effect cars, the floor. This confirms that the floor of the British car has always responded consistently on the track compared to simulations. At the beginning of the 2024 Formula One Championship season, legendary British engineer Adrian Newey admitted that he was worried about the competition, fearing he had been too conservative in designing the RB20. When the latest car designed by former Red Bull engineer was unveiled, almost everyone thought the Britain's statements were part of the classic communication strategy of someone who knows they have a huge margin over the competition. Instead, the car from the Milton Keynes team, after a start that met expectations, was the first car to undergo significant evolution through the update that debuted at the Suzuka circuit in the Japanese Grand Prix. The further evolution of the Austrian car that debuted at the Imola circuit confirmed that the racing blue-colored car and the singular is intentional because the car only works with Max Verstappen, with two not very invasive evolutions in the first 7 Grands Prix still allowed the three-time Formula One world champion to compete with the rapid rise of the opponents, although much credit must undoubtedly be given to the Dutchman's talent. It is evident, in the case of Red Bull, that the intervention areas have been the car floor and the rear area of the car to seek more aerodynamic load. Among the top teams, the world champion team is the one that has communicated the most updates through the presentation car documents, no less than 33. Obviously, the number of updates does not allow us to estimate the remaining budget allocated for the development of the F1 car, because each update has its specific weight. However, the world champion team is the only one to have released 3 major updates, in Suzuka, Imola, and Barcelona. Ferrari's development plan was compromised by the temporary failure of the second aerodynamic update package that debuted at the Spanish Grand Prix. Perhaps conducting more comparative tests in Spain, as McLaren did in Miami, would have helped the cause. Precious time was lost, and to top it off, the comparison at the Silverstone circuit showed that the second upgrade more easily generates bouncing in high-speed corners. Along with the Woking-based F1 team, Ferrari has released the fewest upgrades. Many of these have been focused on the rear area of the car, with the aim of improving airflow management in the zone and increasing the aerodynamic load produced. Unfortunately, the negative feedback from the second aerodynamic package has somewhat halted the evolution of the Italian car. Currently, the technicians are working to return to the previous level of consistency, namely the SF-24 single-seater equipped only with the updates that debuted at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, a rollback that greatly complicates the plans of the prancing horse. Finally, at Mercedes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel of mediocrity that began with the 2022 technical regulations. The rapid sequence of successes between Austria and England is pure oxygen for a team that has never stopped developing its car. The most significant updates were introduced at Imola and on home turf at Silverstone. The development plan of the three-pointed star can be defined as incremental. We say this because the F1 team led by Toto Wolff has constantly brought small evolutions to the track. This approach allows for quickly determining whether the evolution extracts potential from the car or impairs its performance. Conversely, when a major update involving several areas of the car is approved, resolving any issues becomes clearly more complex. Like its competitors, except for McLaren, the primary goal of the updates was to ensure the constant height of the W15 relative to the reference plane to maximize the ground effect guaranteed by the Venturi channels. Now, the Silver Arrows face a critical test before the summer break. Were the recent successes due to favorable circumstances? Or can the Austrian car replicate the performances seen at Silverstone on any track and under any weather conditions? We will soon know more. The competitive landscape in Formula One is becoming more intense every weekend. A resurgent Mercedes have changed the dynamic at the front, becoming the fourth team to take victory in 2024. As rivals progress at an impressive rate, Ferrari are paying the price for stagnating in the development race. To make matters worse, Ferrari will take some time to recover from their recent ineffective upgrades. Before the Spanish GP, Ferrari were experiencing a small dip in form. After Charles Leclerc claimed victory on home soil in Monaco, the Maranello-based team suffered a nightmare weekend in Canada. Their troubles were due to a combination of poor setup and unfavorable track conditions, as opposed to a fundamental lack of performance. In any case, the team's poor result in Montreal triggered a swift response from the factory. Ferrari brought the upgrades initially intended for Silverstone to the Spanish GP, fitting them to the SF-24 a few rounds ahead of schedule. Ferrari hoped to unlock a few tenths of performance and recover lost momentum. Instead, they encountered a set of upgrades that generated aerodynamic instability and bouncing. The additional downforce generated by the SF-24's newest components inadvertently made the car undrivable. This problem persisted in Austria and Britain, to such an extent that Ferrari reverted to their old specification in Silverstone. Thanks to the restrictions imposed by the budget cap, mistakes in development, like Ferrari's recent miscalculation, are especially costly. A significant portion of the team's budget went towards upgrades that were ultimately counterproductive.